Tampa's housing market is collapsing and nobody wants to say it out loud.
At a troubling new milestone for Florida's housing market, Tampa is now top of the list when it comes to foreclosures in the United States.
New data shows more local homeowners are slipping into financial distress as costs climb and home values level off or even fall.
Right now, Tampa leads the entire nation in foreclosures. 1 in every 1,373 homes just got a foreclosure filing. That's not a typo or fake news. It's the worst rate among every major metro in America. And if you own property in Tampa or you're thinking about buying here, you need to hear what's really happening because this is a full-blown crisis unfolding in real time. Let's get into the numbers because they're absolutely brutal. As I have mentioned, Tampa recorded 1 in every 1,373 housing units with a foreclosure filing in October 2025. Florida posted the nation's highest foreclosure rate at 1 in every 1,829 homes. But Tampa is leading even within Florida's disaster zone. We're talking about 36,766 foreclosure filings tracked nationwide last month. That's a 3% jump from September and a 19% surge from last year. This isn't slowing down, it's accelerating. And here's what makes Tampa's situation different from every other market. The people getting crushed right now bought during the absolute worst possible window, that is 2020 to 2023. Those were the peak pricing years. Families thought they were getting into the market before it was too late. Now they're discovering their property isn't worth much more than they paid. In some cases, it's worth less. But wait, because what's really destroying these homeowners goes way deeper than just flat property values. Stay with me here. The carrying costs are absolutely crushing Tampa homeowners right now.
It's really all prices and all costs associated with housing, whether it's HOA, whether it's interest on mortgage payments, whether it's interest payments, all of those costs are going up.
HOA fees have escalated, insurance premiums have skyrocketed, interest rates have climbed, all at the same time. Realtor Mia Anabali is watching it happen in real time. She says families run the numbers and discover they would need to bring roughly $10,000 to the closing table just to avoid a short sale. Think about that. You bought a house thinking it was an investment. Now you have to pay $10,000 just to get out of it. That's when foreclosure becomes inevitable. Not a possibility, but absolutely inevitable. And here's the terrifying part. Tampa has a massive population of retirees and people on fixed incomes. Their housing costs are rising, but their income stays frozen. Any small change is going to be felt particularly acutely by individuals who might not have a whole lot of money. And I haven't even told you about the insurance crisis that's making this exponentially worse. Keep watching because this gets darker. The Housing and Education Alliance is getting flooded with panic calls. Executive Director Sylvia Alvarez claims they're receiving calls from people who are getting their notices from their banks because of non-payments. They don't know what to do. And the calls are definitely increasing. These aren't investors or speculators, but families. People who thought they were doing the right thing by buying a home. The data shows foreclosure starts jumped nearly 20% year over year. Completed foreclosures went up 32% from last year. Florida recorded 4,136 foreclosure starts in October alone, more than Texas with 3,080, more than California with 2,685. Florida is leading the nation and Tampa is leading Florida. Now let me show you exactly why Tampa homeowners are more trapped than anywhere else in America right now. Tampa homeowners are facing a perfect storm that didn't exist in previous crashes. Insurance premiums in Florida have become absolutely catastrophic. Multiple major insurance carriers have completely abandoned the state. Citizens Property Insurance, the state-backed insurer of last resort, now covers over 1.2 million policies because private companies fled. The ones that stayed have raised rates by 40%, 50%, sometimes 60% in just 2 years. Homeowners who were paying $2,000 annually are now getting bills for $4,000 or $5,000. And that's if they can even get coverage. Properties in flood zones are getting destroyed by this. FEMA flood insurance costs have skyrocketed. A home that needed $800 in flood coverage 3 years ago now requires $2,500 or more. Combine that with homeowners insurance and you're looking at $7,000 to $8,000 annually just for insurance. On top of your mortgage, on top of property taxes, on top of HOA fees if you're in a condo or planned community, this creates an inescapable trap. You can't get a mortgage without insurance. You can't sell to a buyer who needs financing without insurance. And if your property becomes uninsurable, you're stuck. Thousands of Tampa properties are becoming essentially uninsurable. Homes built before 1994 that haven't had roof replacements are getting policy cancellations. Insurance companies are now requiring roof inspections and denying coverage if your roof is over 15 years old, even if it's in perfect condition, even if it passed inspection last year. The rules changed and homeowners are getting 30-day cancellation notices with nowhere to turn. This forces people into foreclosure even when they're current on mortgage payments. Your lender requires insurance. If you can't provide proof of coverage, they purchase force-placed insurance on your behalf. That coverage costs 3 to 4 times normal rates and gets added to your mortgage payment. A $1,800 monthly payment suddenly becomes $2,400. Most families can't absorb a $600 monthly increase overnight. They miss payments. The foreclosure process begins, and Florida's foreclosure process is faster and more brutal than almost anywhere else in America. Florida is a judicial foreclosure state, but the timeline moves aggressively. Banks can initiate foreclosure after 120 days of missed payments. The entire process from first default to auction can happen in 6 to 9 months if the homeowner doesn't respond. Compare that to New York, where it takes 3 years, or California, where it takes 2 years. Tampa homeowners are on an accelerated timeline to losing everything. The legal fees compound the problem. Once foreclosure starts, homeowners get hit with attorney fees, court costs, and title search expenses. These fees get added to the amount owed. A homeowner who's behind $8,000 suddenly owes $15,000 once legal fees stack up. The hole gets deeper every month. Now here's what's really terrifying about Tampa's current spike in foreclosures. Hillsborough County temporarily paused reporting foreclosure data and just resumed. All those delayed filings from the backlog hit the system simultaneously in October. That's partially why Tampa's rate exploded to 1 in every 1,373 homes. But this isn't artificial inflation. These are real foreclosures that were already in the pipeline. They just all appeared in the data at once. The spike reveals the true scale of distress that was hidden during the reporting pause. November's numbers are expected to normalize as the backlog clears. But normalize still means Tampa will have one of the highest foreclosure rates in the nation. The underlying crisis isn't going anywhere. The backlog just masked how bad things already were. And Tampa has another problem that's creating a secondary foreclosure wave. Contract cancellations hit 20% in September. 1 in 5 pending home sales fell through. That's the highest rate among all major U.S. metros. Buyers are doing their due diligence and walking away. They're discovering insurance costs that sellers didn't disclose. They're finding out HOA fees jumped 25% in the last year. They're realizing the property taxes got reassessed higher. They run the final numbers and the deal doesn't work anymore. This creates cascading damage for sellers. You accept an offer. You stop making mortgage payments because you think you're selling. You've maybe already put money down on your next property. Then 30 days later, the buyer backs out. Now you're behind on payments with no buyer and a property that's even harder to sell because it's been on the market longer. That's when foreclosure becomes unavoidable. The properties that do sell are taking massive losses. Homeowners who bought in 2021 or 2022 at peak prices are selling for 5% to 10% less than they paid. After paying realtor commissions at 5% to 6%, closing costs at 2%, and any repairs the buyer demanded, sellers are bringing $10,000 to $20,000 to closing just to get out. Most don't have that cash available. They either stay trapped or let the property go into foreclosure. The rental market that was supposed to save Tampa investors has collapsed too. Investors who bought properties thinking they'd generate rental income are hemorrhaging money. Tampa has seen massive apartment construction in the last 3 years. Over 12,000 new apartment units came online. These new complexes offer amenities that older rental homes can't match. Pools, fitness centers, security, professional management. They're pulling renters away from single-family home rentals. Vacancy rates for rental homes in Tampa have climbed to 8% to 10% in many neighborhoods. Landlords are offering 1 month free rent just to get tenants. Even with concessions, properties are sitting vacant for 60 to 90 days. An investor with 3 rental properties losing $1,500 per month on each one is bleeding $4,500 monthly. That's $54,000 annually in negative cash flow. Most investors can't sustain that for more than 6 to 12 months before they're forced into foreclosure or fire sales. Here's the timeline acceleration that should terrify every Tampa homeowner. Foreclosure filings have increased year over year for 8 consecutive months nationally. In Tampa, the acceleration is more dramatic. The factors driving foreclosures aren't resolving. Insurance costs keep climbing. property values remain stagnant or declining. Interest rates are elevated with no significant cuts coming. The homeowners barely surviving right now are one unexpected expense away from default: a $5,000 medical bill, a job loss, a major car repair. Any financial shock pushes them over the edge, and Florida's economy is showing stress signals. Tourism numbers are softening. Convention bookings are down. The service sector jobs that employ hundreds of thousands in Tampa are vulnerable. When the next recession hits, and it will hit, Tampa's foreclosure crisis will explode beyond anything we're seeing now. The math is brutal and getting worse. Property taxes in Hillsborough County increased for many homeowners as property values rose during the boom. Even though values have flattened, the tax assessments haven't caught up yet. Homeowners are paying taxes based on inflated 2022 valuations while trying to sell properties at 2025 prices. The gap is crushing them. HOA fees have jumped 15% to 25% in many Tampa communities. Older developments are hitting homeowners with special assessments for infrastructure repairs. Roofs, roads, drainage systems that were deferred during the lean years now need replacement. A $3,000 or $5,000 special assessment lands in your mailbox with 30 days to pay. If you can't pay, the HOA can put a lien on your property. In Florida, HOA liens can lead to foreclosure, and the HOA lien takes priority over your mortgage in some cases. The institutional investors who bought heavily in Tampa during 2020 and 2021 are quietly exiting. They're selling at losses to get out before things get worse. When institutional money runs from a market, it signals they see something catastrophic coming. They have analysts, economists, and data that retail homeowners don't access, and they're leaving. Tampa leads the nation in foreclosures because every crisis hit simultaneously. Insurance apocalypse, stagnant property values, elevated interest rates, rental market collapse, contract cancellation epidemic, rising carrying costs, accelerated foreclosure timelines, economic uncertainty, and a massive population of retirees on fixed incomes who can't absorb these cost increases. This isn't fear-mongering. This is what the data shows. This is what's happening on the ground right now. Tampa homeowners are trapped in a financial vice that's tightening every month. The foreclosure numbers will keep climbing. The pain will keep spreading, and there's no rescue coming.